today we are going to see you how we can use Git. So after this video you will be aware of and familiar with the Git and GitHub. So this is the diagram that I draw. I will explain you one by one. So here we are in the GitHub, we are creating the one code, means our code base is here. So here we are creating the code, or we are adding the file or removing the file. So in an example I have like this folder like git demo, which I created for it. So you can see here there is nothing is there for right now in this folder. So this is the code, right? Also when we do or when we want to add something, let me create one file here. So let me create that demo file, demo.python file, right? So I created this file. I didn't have git and all. So first of all, the first command is like git init. So git init command is used for the initialization of the git. So here you can see here one folder is created, which is like .git. So if I do the status here, git status, it will give me that okay, this file is you created and not add it and something like that. So let's see how we can add and how the git works. So here we create the code, or update the file here. Once we updated or create the file here, then we add that code to the stage area. So stage area is something which is like you can mention that it's a cloud storage, we can say, but on the local environment. So it's an area where once we are done with that, then we can add this file in the stage area using the add command. So we can say git add, and I will say dot, means all the file in my current repository. So if I add dot, then we can say that git status will be added. So you can see here the before that I have like red, and after that when I hit the git add command, it will showing me the green, which means that my demo file is successfully added to my stage area. So right now my file is here, right? But still that file is not permanently saved the changes, but there is something which we want to share that, or we commit the changes, we can say. Not a commit, we can say we are moving the changes in the process of to save it in the git. So now we successfully move the changes to the stage area, but stage area is also the temporary storage, right? We need to implement, or we need to apply these changes to the actual git and make sure that these changes will be permanent. So how to make the changes permanent? We can make the changes permanent using the git commit command. So we commit the changes, which means that we adding the changes to the git, which means that it's been the permanent changes which are stored in the GitHub or Git, not a GitHub. GitHub is the repository, but Git is the local storage. So here I am just added one file. It's my commit message. You can like put whatever you want to put in a commit message, but a commit message is something which can like giving us the information, okay, what changes we are going to commit. Here sometimes we have multiple files, like hundred of files. We can use the one commit message for it as well. So once here I hit enter, then you can see that in my master branch I successfully save these changes. So if I hit git status, you can see there is nothing to commit, right? Because that the changes is permanently stored to the git. So my workflow is something like that. Let me arrow it. So my code is go from the this code to stage and then git area. So my code is workflow is something like that, this direction. So once that the changes is permanently stored to the git, then we can push to the GitHub, or we can push these changes to the GitHub. For pushing these changes to the GitHub, we need a GitHub repository. So Git is a command line tool which is helpful for the working with the or creating or the completely adding the changes at the permanent basis on the Git. And GitHub is the repository level things which we can like communicate, and we will store the our changes or our the code on some places where we can easily accessible from the remote. Because if my this folder is deleted, then my git is also gone and everything is gone, right? My changes will also gone. Right now there are changes, right? You can see here git log. With the help of GitLab, you can see that I added or I commit one changes. But if my folder is this demo folder is deleted, then their changes will gone. So how I can make sure that my changes will never go away from me? So for that we need to push the changes to the GitHub. So GitHub is the storage which is provided by the GitHub company. So let's create one repository on GitHub which will give you like work through how we can do that. So here if I go to I am going to my GitHub repository. Here we can say that we can here click on this new repository. We can say demo, git demo. We can say you can put whatever you want to put as a name. So I am just selecting the owner here. It should be the private repository, or you can make it public as well and just create this repository. Once this repository is created, then you need to do some command. So it will also giving us the same command line, like git init, git add, git commit, something like that. But we already did this setup. So right now we want to add the remote branch. For adding the remote thing, we can just copy this command and paste it to our environment. So what this command will do? This command will establish connection between my local to my public Git or the GitHub repository which I created this one. So this will establish the like connection between that. Once that handshake is done, then we can push the changes. So for pushing the changes, we have a command which is like git push. So sometimes I am using the g because I set up a git as a g in my terminal. So you can use git. So we can say git push origin. So what the branch is like master branch. So I am pushing the master branch to my repository. So once that is push is done, you can see that new branch is created on GitHub, something like that. If I refresh this page, then you will see that okay, this demo file is already here, added here. So this is once my right now my this demo folder is deleted. If I remove that, remove -rf and git demo, you can see there is no demo folder after this executing this command. There is nothing found in this repository. But now we can like added these things on my GitHub repository, so we can clone or we can pull these changes from the GitHub. So how we can pull that? Here we have the HTTPS wedge or HSS wedge. So we can choose anything we want to. You can also download the zip and using that. But for familiar with me, I am going to use SSH. So for that I am using git clone and I am just putting the repository path here. So once that repository path, it will clone the changes from my GitHub to Git, means local environment, means local machine. So once that I will do what was the name which I do, like git demo. So you can see here my changes are already there. Now you will see right, because why we need git and why we need GitHub. GitHub is required for the managing these things from centrally, or there is some place where we can store this repository, so our changes will never go on after the machine is formatted or anything happen or any incidents happen. We are storing these changes somewhere which can be reliable, we can easily access with the help of our personal account. And git is something like we want to, like you can see here the log as well. You can see the added one file which is like earlier log which I already created as a part of first commit. So you can see that okay, my changes is already there and everything is there. So let me go to the diagram. So what will diagram is saying? Okay, so this workflow is clear to you. I hope this workflow is clear, right? Because here we are not doing anything, we are just pushing the changes to the local git, and after that you can see that we successfully git to GitHub is connected. This handshake is performed via the git remote add remote branch and something like that. We run the command, using that this workflow is established. So this is also done. So now we will see how the git stash storage work in our environment. So git stash storage is something like we let me do something with this file. So if I hit like I am just adding the line of code to my Python file. We can say import os print hello. So I am just adding two lines here for the Python. You can say if I do git status, then it will say that this file is modified, right? So it is saying that this file is modified. Then we need to make sure these changes will be permanently stored to my git and then my GitHub repository. So we can follow the same process, but before that, what is the happen here? You can see here I did these changes, then I forgot that I need to switch the branch. So why we need to switch the branch? Because sometimes there is the cases that we have follow some naming convention to the branch. My branch should be something like star with the starting from my company name and then the whatever we want to put the name. So that's some organization follow that practices. So for doing that, what we can do, we can stash these changes. We can stash these changes means I'm just doing the status here, which is saying like one file is modifying. I'm saving these changes for the temporary storage to the stash area. So what we can do, that git stash, only this command is useful for that. It will saying that saved working directory and indexed work in progress on the master added one file, means git on the git stash area. For the listing that I will list that, you can see that one changes is successfully stored there, means whole file or something like that. It contain many files as well. If it contain many files like hundreds of files, you can still save to the stash area. Stash area is something like that, temporary storage for your git, local git, and stash area is also the local environment. So once that is the changes is stored in stash area, then we can just do the changes. You can see that nothing is there, and what the changes I did, it is automatically gone here, because these changes is stored in my stash area. And right now means the repository before that commit message or before changes, whatever the structure of this repository, this will give me that doesn't mean that our git log, our added the commit messages will go on. No, nothing will happen like that, because we only store the changes which are not in present in the stage area. So here I did some changes, like, but I want to change the branch before going to the commit. So before so I forgot to add the branch, so that's why I need to store these changes somewhere so I can easily pull from it. So I will store this all the changes I created here to the this storage environment, and after that, like, I store these changes, and this will give me the exact repository which I means the not the modified changes, the exact changes which are already there, which are stored permanently there. So this will give me the only that changes. Then I can switch the branch. Let me switch the branch. We can say git checkout -b, and I will use the demo. So I created here demo branch here, right? So you can see here my terminal is saying that okay, before that there is the master, right, and after that there is the demo. So I am switching to the demo branch. Now I can see that okay, this is the changes. Okay, I want to like pull that changes from the stash area, because right now our changes is here, right, stash area, but I want to pull it in the code. So how we can do that? We can do that using the git stash pop. You can see this, all the changes will be automatically pop to my stash area or to my local area. So here you can see that okay, these changes are we did. So now we can say git status, it is modifying that, like, then we add these changes for on the permanent basis. So we do git add dot, then we do git commit -m added hello world. Once that is done, then our changes is permanently stored to the git, in the git, not in the github. For storing these changes to the github permanently, we need to push this branch to my github repository. So how we can do that? Git push origin which we already added before steps, and then branch name here demo. So it will push my branch to the github. So once that is done, then we can clear this console, use ls. So you can see that once if I go here, then it is saying that okay, new branch git demo branch is created and something like that. I will create the pull request here. Pull request is something like that. Then it will like running the GitHub action. If you configure that, in future I will create the video around that. You can see after that. So I will merge this branch. Once I will merge this branch, our changes will be automatically stored to the or merged to the main branch. I will delete that because this branch is not in use. So you can see here in the demo.py, you can see that my changes is here. So this is the complete workflow of the GitHub. How we can use GitHub, how we can use stash, and what is the commands for using it. So automatically we can create the pull request and like managing the Git very effectively. So why Git is a version control tool? We require it to making sure that if we are doing something, we need to manage it on the basis of version. As we know that we are installing the Android app in our system, so that Android app has specific version. Like that, this repository has the specific versions. Based on that version it is changes. So if in future I want to like, I am saying like, okay, this version, like my two version is better than the 3 version, then I can easily revert my changes to the 2 version. For how to reverting changes and all, we will see in the future videos. But that the complete setup of how we can use the Git and GitHub. So this diagram will really helpful for you, because there is the Git stash is local storage, which is very required for the managing this thing effectively. Because as a going advance, sometimes we forget some doing the mistakes and all. So at that time, for reverting or rollbacking these changes and then again implementing it, which will create the problem. So that we have the stash storage, which can do the same thing for the temporary storing the file. But stage is different, stash is different, don't confuse in that. So here this is the GitHub. So that's pretty much from my side. Thank you.